you could look at it like technology's this, and they've got rights over here, and we've got blah, blah, blah. 10,000 foot view. We have a change in society, an evolutionary change brought about by a new technology. Then we have the antibody fighting it because some have vested interest in stopping that technology happening. So I'm looking at it from a 10,000 foot view. And so that became my problem statement, my challenge statement. I always start with a challenge statement. What's the unmet need? It always came back to the artist.
Welcome to Hacking Music. I'm your host, John Pisciotta. The goal of this podcast is to break off a piece of the hacking music training we use and train artists in every day to master the best of what other headliner artists have already figured out so that you can unlock your potential. Additionally, we interview world-class artists and entrepreneurs, doers and thinkers so that you can better analyze your problems, seize your opportunities, and master your decision-making and execution. Every episode is packed with training, lessons, and force multipliers that never expire. And if you're listening to this, you're missing out. If you'd like members-only training and exclusive content, you can join at hacking-music.com. Check out the show notes for a link.
The biggest aha light bulb moment for me was this is not just like a change in venue in medium for music. This is brand new stuff. It is a brand new revenue stream, which hasn't been realized in quite some time. So Finn, did you just like have the Isaac Newton moment where the apple hit you on the head? You were sitting under a tree and you were like, this whole AI thing can be a good thing. And as a musician, how did that whole kind of Monarch idea, how did you come up with that?
Great question. So I need to take you back a little bit, back to the future in a way. I have a really firm belief that all creative people, all musicians, all artists have an innate ability to connect the unconnected. And what I mean by that is the output of the works and the art forms that they produce is a synthesis of different notes at different times, different dynamics. And you know, when you see art being created that's truly unique is a blend of things that haven't been blended before. And so my whole life, when I got into music, it was probably like most people watching this call, just besotted by music. My whole living, breathing entity was about music. But as I evolved and got a little bit older, I got into technology, and then I started exploring what does technology interface with music, and then I got involved in human capabilities and psychology, and then I started inventing things, and I never really knew what I was doing. I was just putting stuff together and experimenting and see what worked and what didn't work, and I didn't get bound into as an artist, the only thing I do is play guitar. I'm a guitar player. And I was like, well, am I a guitar player or am I a composer? Am I a mathematician? And I started to ask myself, what does a guitar player mean? It's basically a description of something I do, but it's not really who I am. So I've always been this person looking to push and find the boundaries and the edges and where things intersect, and really passionate about trying to go places, do the whole Star Trek thing, go to places that no one's ever gone before. And that's uncomfortable for a lot of people. And luckily through my life, I found that by pushing boundaries, the thing that I'm most scared of is the programming that I've been told that I shouldn't go there, rather than, the more I push there, I realize actually there's nothing scary about it at all. It's just, I've got my human operating system has been programmed to say don't go there. So what happens? What's happened is over my life with all these different things that I've done. I'm getting to Monarch in a second. Is that I'm always experimenting, looking for things, connecting, pushing things together, and trying to find the bits that don't fit together. Because for me, the bits that don't fit together is where the greatest innovations lie. So, obviously being a technologist and building tech companies and doing that my whole life, as well as music, I look at technology, programming, all of this stuff as a language. So when I learned to write music, I learned, in essence, hieroglyphics. I learned another language. And I learned how to turn the music stuff into written notes, which is basically a codified version of what I'm hearing. No different to English language, except, well, when I say no different, it's a lot more complex than a written language because it has movement, navigation, it has dynamics, and you're writing all this stuff down, right? So I look at music, and then when I first learned to code, I didn't actually go to school. I just read a book and started coding. And people were like, how did you do that? And it was, for me, it's just another language. It's sort of, oh, okay. And it was more like putting things together. And what does this symphony of bits of code look like? So when I started, and as I evolved, that's led me my whole life. It's let me go through so many different directions, from technology to music to blah, blah, blah. But music is still my roots. It's still my passion. I've done and played with lots of famous musicians and done lots of albums. But for me, music is where my heart is. But you know, I've got a deep tech background. So when AI started hitting the fore, I started asking questions, well, what is artificial intelligence? How does it work? Not just take it for granted and go and build stuff on top of it. I want to know deep down what's inside it. What is a neural network? How does it relate to a human neural network with neurons and synapses and electrical firing connections? And so I started exploring the architecture of AI. And then I started thinking, well, as a society, us four on this call that you're seeing is like a societal neural network. The people in our tribe, our crew, our friends, they're like all neurons in a network. And so I always picture things in visually. And so I started looking at the architecture of AI. And then I started, as a musician, with, you know, understanding the business side as well as the musician side. You know, I started again seeing a fracture in society where a shift is happening and society's fighting back against it. The antibodies are fighting. The DNA of society is fighting it back against a change, specifically against a change to music. And so what you could look at it like technology's this, and they've got rights over here, and we've got blah, blah, blah. 10,000 foot view. We have a change in society, an evolutionary change brought about by a new technology. Then we have the antibodies fighting it because some have vested interest in stopping that technology happening. So I'm looking at it from a 10,000 foot view. And so that became my problem statement, my challenge statement. I always start with a challenge statement. What's the unmet need? It always came back to the artist, right? Or the rights holder, the people who have invested in the intellectual property. And so what does a future look like when that value disappears? And so that was my starting problem statement. And I started going, well, technology already exists to be able, in using AI, to go and create a style of a song in seconds. You can go to Suno or any of these other platforms. So if you can do that, why can't we upgrade? Why can't we utilize that technology, but do it in a way whereby the artist gets paid, the AI platform can't get sued, and the end user who wants to create whatever they want to create can do so? Now, how do we build a responsible framework? And I looked at the US freeway system. Well, not so much the freeway. In Australia, we have toll roads, like in Europe. And so you pay to go on certain roads, right? And then I looked at a whole credit card network where you tap a credit card and someone's getting paid, right? There's stuff going on behind the scenes that you don't know. So you're buying something, but there is authorization, and then there's your acquirer, your issuer bank who gives you your credit card, and then they talk to the merchants bank. So there's all of this stuff going on. So I started looking at how does the architecture of the fintech or the bank work? How does the US or the toll road freeway work? And basically looked at that as an architecture for AI. I'm now getting to the point. Sorry, it was the long background.
No, go for it.
No, so what I realized was, you asked where the idea came from. It was from these two things. It was about saying the problem statement is artists aren't getting paid, users are demanding a new way to interact with content, and the big platforms that serve this content want a responsible framework where they don't get sued. Right? So if we talk about artists, okay, so does that make sense so far?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's look at them as now 3 problem statements. How do we provide value to artists in a future of AI? 2, problem statement. How do we provide a responsible framework for the biggest AI engines in the world so they don't get sued? And 3, How do we provide an experience to fans of artists that explodes the way that they can interact with music and enjoy music in a whole new way, where it's hyper-personalized to them individually? Okay, 3 things. Now, most businesses try and solve one of those things. But for me, the challenge is, how do we make pretty much everyone win? So let's look at the artist. When I looked at the artist, I didn't go, oh, how do we make the artist get paid? I started going deeper into discovery, and I started going, what is the real problem behind the problem? Artists getting paid is a problem, but what's the problem behind the problem? The problem behind the problem, in my view, is that since the birth of the first recorded musical works in 1949 with the LP, a listener, a fan, has only been able to do a few things: turn up the volume, change the treble, bass, or sometimes a little EQ. That's it. From all these years, right? And as a listener of the music, the person who buys the content, who engages with the content, where part of the transactional value lies, that person has never been able to engage with content, except everything around that person's life has changed. So they can interact and get communications in a second. They can go to WhatsApp, Facebook. They can have friends all over the world. They can be influencers. They can do all this. But you know what they couldn't do? Was change music, because it was, here's a file that was written by an artist. And the artist, quite rightly, goes and puts all this energy and work into a file. So the changing face of AI means that the old world of, as a band, I've recorded this song, and the song is where the value lies in the recorded works, has changed. That's the old world. That's the ASCAP world. That's the CSAC world. That's the BMIs. That's where there's all mechanisms built around these things that have already existed, right? Files, music. What happens in a world where someone prompts and says, I want Metallica Enter Sandman in a jazz vibe or in a sort of Caribbean vibe because I'm hanging out by the pool? That doesn't exist, but it does in AI. You can do that. So the recorded works, the actual file, isn't so much where the value lies. It's in the likeness of the artist's works, which is what the end user wants to use to generate content that they want. Yeah. And so the old world of, let's put all this stuff and monetary and complications and technical stuff and people and middlemen and all this around a recorded work is now, in an AI world, it doesn't no longer exist, because it's not what the user wants. Okay, so Suno and Udio have these technologies. So the problem behind the problem wasn't artists getting paid. It was how might we allow for an artist's likeness, uniqueness, art form, the work, stuff that they've done all their life to build influence with an end user. How do we monetize that? Okay, that was the problem statement. So that's the problem statement from the AI platform. There's a reason why OpenAI, Gemini, Anthropic, why they don't have music services. I don't know if you've ever asked that question yourself. Ask yourself the question, why doesn't OpenAI have a music service when they used to? Why is only Sudo and Unio? Because they don't want to get sued. They don't want to put that on the complexities of people coming at them. All these new laws and Elvis Acts and all these different things. It's a mounting weight of legislation to stop them not using audio, not doing this in a responsible manner. So as a toll booth, what happens when you go on a toll booth or when you pay a credit card transaction? You get a token that says, I can now travel. You go to Disneyland, you buy a ticket, okay? You're buying the experience, the ability for you to interact by buying a ticket. So what we did was, how might Monarch look at an entire catalog of works of an artist and build for want of a better word, it's called a stylometric, but it's like a AI type fingerprint, which is a plugin. Anyone that's running a DAW here or a software or a Photoshop might have gone down to plugins and then loaded a plugin. In essence, Monarch is a plugin that is built a likeness algorithm that plugs into an AI engine that allows anyone to type anything they want, and anytime an artist's song or their likeness or their name or brand is being utilized, a ticket can be issued and paid for, and the artist gets paid. So really, it was me getting now to the end of the question, which was probably 500-hour answer, is really this simple. It's what we've done is built a new token system on artist likeness, whereas the old world was, which is a royalty. Think of it as a royalty. Built a royalty mechanism around artist likeness, which allows end users to interact and engage with any of an artist's influence and likeness in any way they want, allows an AI platform to not be sued, and allows an artist to get paid.
And Finn, would you say that, like, the great artists have always been building an experience? The Grateful Dead's, Madonna, Prince. I mean, they were never just a widget. And it seems like in the past 30 years, you know, the record label model, the industry first model, has really kind of forced that sausage, you know, into the widget. You know,
I think you're right, but I think your word experiences are really interesting for me. When you first heard music, I imagine back in the 50s, I wasn't born, but you imagine this stuff coming out and it's challenging society's norms, or it's got a narrative around politics, or it's making me feel a certain way, it's making me act a certain way.
Yeah.
As the industry got involved, then it was an algorithm about how many can we sell, and we know that the widget. Like we know that this many people will buy this. So it was treated like a pack of cigarettes.
Right.
You know, if we target this many people in this area and go on tour in this area, and we market it this way with these radio stations with this thing, we've got a high likelihood of success. And I don't blame them for that. It's a business, right?
Right.
But then the other thing that happened was technology got cheaper. Sitting behind me, I've got a pretty decent studio, same with JERM there. We can do in our houses, we can build productions these days. We can actually do it on a phone now. We can actually do multi-track on our phone and write songs, publish them to a platform and have millions of views. And so the barriers to entry for music has gone down. So now we have 100,000 songs being added to Spotify. We've got TikTok becoming probably one of the biggest music platforms in the world. We've got the consumption patterns changing from albums to songs now to 8-second grab TikTok grabs. So we've got this whole world shifting, but everyone's still looking for an experience.
Right.
Not the widget. So to your point, that's my thoughts.
And hey, everybody, just wanted to drop in again and say thanks to our sponsor, the Sync Center. The Sync Center is trusted by Fortune 50 companies, filmmakers, ad executives, networks, major film and streaming studios. The Sync Center is a full-service music supervision and licensing company that has managed projects for clients including national and global brands, ad agencies, and cultural events. They specialize in getting you the music you want within the budget you have, all while keeping you legal through the whole process. You can check them out at thesyncenter.com. That's TheSyncCenter.com. Check them out. And talk a little bit about how Monarrch ingests a style. We talk about 72 style points or data points.
That's the feature extraction. Yeah. So basically we have, so without getting into all the technicalities of MFCC, all the technical stuff, right? Basically we do a thing where a whole catalog of artists' works, the videos, their text, their brand go into a folder. And we interrogate that and we do what's called pre-processing. So as we do that, we basically do format conversion, we do loudness conversion, we do a few things just to sort of get the file prepped, right? And then we do these what's called advanced feature techniques. So we do up to 72 different, first off, then we slice them into little tiny bits. So it looks like Lego because it's data. Your whole song as a song doesn't matter, it's your whole entire works. So we break everything up into tiny little pieces, right? And once we've done that, then we do these what's called feature extraction. So we're looking for tonal, timbre, key, timing. So we do the first low-level stuff where we're pulling out feature extractions. That's the first bit. Then we do another things like where we start to look at harmony, structure of all the bits of your whole works, not just a song. So we're looking at what are the key elements? So then we have a context layer that looks over the top of the content and starts to look for patterns in all the bits. And then once we've got the patterns in the bits, Then we can actually understand what's unique about that pattern. Then we feed it into an engine, which then start to try, and we do a test. We're doing like a test engine. We actually then have a mechanism whereby we do what's called the retrieval to the system, and then we do what's called a final. We put it all together, and then we do a spectral analysis. You might have seen that in some of the doors where you've got like all these pictures of the waveforms, and in that, then we use that to train the neural models, the AI models. So we use all of the bits, all of the feature extractions, the assembly, the context, and the spectrographs to actually then start to build this unique fingerprint, which is the artist style. That's the most simple way I can explain it. There's all sorts.
Hey everybody, it's John. Just wanted to drop in here and give a special thanks to our sponsor, ArtistWorks. ArtistWorks is an execution company. They specialize in media, marketing, and monetization. ArtistWorks partners with brands to provide infrastructure, marketing, execution, and monetization in the rapidly changing media industry. They create products and experiences to engage your customers, drive revenue, build careers, and surpass your competitors. Check them out at artistworks.com. That is works with a W-E-R-X. ARTISTWERX.com.
There's all sorts of stuff from emotion detection.
Do you find that growing? Sorry, do you find that growing as well? Like, like say an artist signs up and they learn all of these 72 styles, things about themselves that actually make up their style, and they're like, oh, this is great. So they start leaning into it like a little bit more. Is that gonna, you find that will change the way the more an actual artist realizes, hey, like that is my unique lane that I can do, and I'm gonna lean into that? Do you kind of see it changing, their styles changing because of that?
That's such an awesome question, Jan, because
it is.
I'll say it like this: it's for those watching this, the definition of creativity is coming up with solutions to problems by the reorganization of existing things. Sounds super technical. Let me explain it. As a painter, I have a canvas, I have brushes, and I have paints. Right? They're the existing things. The reorganization of those, right, is how I come up with an output. But it's the process of reorganization is the creative process, right? The solution to the problem is, as a painter, what's my problem? I want brand recognition. I want to sell my painting. I want my picture to look good on a wall. So I'm using this process. As a musician, I'm playing a note, I'm blah, blah, blah. I've got a drummer, he's doing this. And it's the combination of that, the creative process, to come up with the output. What if AI is one of those things that you reorganize?
That's crazy thought.
So now reorganizing things with AI in the middle, now I can learn more about myself. I can amplify the value I provide to the world. I can build a second brain. I don't know if anyone knows what a second brain is. In the future, and it's already here, you'll have this thing called an AI agent, just like your Amazon Echo, but it will be trained on you. So it can scan through all of your hard drives, every song you've ever written, all your files, your text, your lyrics, every email, blah, blah, blah. And you can question it. No one else gets access to it. And it can go, it can listen to you playing something and you go, look, I'm really stuck here for an idea. And it goes, well, on the 22nd of November last year, you played this riff. Remember that? Maybe that'll work, because I think that'll work. So it can start to prompt you and give you. So this is part of the future. It's not about being scared of it. It's about thinking of AI as one of the things that we introduce. Once we do that, we become what we call an augmented human. It amplifies our ability to adapt, to create value in an ever-changing world. The paradigm is, if we stay the same, we go, this is me, no problem. But if you want to survive and you want to live in a society where you need to get paid to survive, and you don't change, and the market keeps changing, the gap between the value you provide and the market that keeps evolving gets wider and wider, and it gets less and less. So part of my message to all artists is, don't be afraid of this stuff.
And the artists are usually last in line. Like as far as feeding, they're the last to eat. The record labels, the publishers are going to get theirs. The house never loses. But I think that's one of the interesting things about Monarch is like artists are in control of this. This is their IP. This is their
it is,
brand.
but it's look. I would say rights owners are in control of this.
That's right. Yeah, IP. Whoever.
And so I think that, there is a really important conversation for labels. They've invested a lot of money, a lot of time into these huge catalogs. And if I said to a label, Monarch is about artists, but it's also about you. Like your entire catalog, who's coming to you as a label right now saying, we've got a brand new mechanism to revitalize your entire catalog?
Right.
That's Monarch. Without you doing it.
To be honest, they're probably building something that's gonna possibly work against them if they don't aren't part of controlling it, And I think that everything has become so cookie cutter in the music industry, and everybody's following everyone, and everyone sounds like each other, and all the music is becoming this one thing. And I love that Monarch just essentially awards you for being unique, and to be honest, that gives me, and what I think a lot of artists and producers, once they have that, a lot more hope and in so many things. But the reality is that AI and every other business assist the business. And the way we look at it, because we're so used in the all forms of art, we're so used to being stolen from, that it's one of those things where, of course, it needs to be used in assistance. And our business is so complex. The way you say that an artist catalog, but then that needs to get broken down, and every song's got splits, and it's so complex that we need that assistance so bad. But everybody's main thing is their nature is just like, whoa. You're not taking this, because we've just been taken from a lot from the beginning.
Right.
It's one of my favorite things about Monarch, totally, is just that uniqueness identifying aspect of it, because it then gives you hope, it gives you new direction. And whenever if it was a fan then all saying we love that, you would naturally get in your studio and then go and make something more that direction. And if it's AI that has looked through everything about you and says this is what's unique about you, I think we would actually trust it rather than being afraid of its opinion.
100%.
And
Jim,
so,
if I said, like, if for every musician watching this video, I want to ask you this question. If you had an assistant right now, let's say you're the Eagles, I'm, or let's say I'm Irving Azoff and I'm representing all these bands, or I'm a big manager, and I have an assistant that can know every single person that's worked on the song, from the guy who got the coffee to the guy who produced it, to the label, to who owns what rights. And I can, via voice, say, what's the split on this? Who owns that on that? And it tells me everything in a second. All the complexity that the world has built around these files that exist is now at my fingertips, because that's super easy for AI. AI is doing gene splitting on, 10 billion parameters, right? This stuff that we think is complex in the world of, we've been building on this ship and putting a bandage on, and then this has come on and that's come on, and it's built this tree which is out of control. AI can understand that easily, right? So, this part of getting a groundswell of artists and people who have rights to get behind Monarch, because, dude, this is the new revolution. We have at our fingertips something that we can take control of. I'm not building the tech. I've got one of Australia's smartest tech guys. I'm pretty good with tech, but I've got the guy with my team on this, and we're looking to build something that will just transform. And like when I say put artists' rights, we're not talking about a traditional platform of, we'll do this and we'll sign up, and we still got to get this approval. It's a completely different, right? AI can take all that complexity that's been mired and transform that. And so when someone says, what about Joe Bloggs has got 1.3% on this file? No problem. Okay, we'll make our royalty transfer to wherever you guys work that out. We can give you the split. We can do whatever. AI is a mechanism that is, when it's used rightly, is going to transform everything. And it can transform things badly, but if we take it we, the artists, the rights owners, if we take control of this and get behind something like this, I honestly believe in all my years, this is a fundamental change. This is, as John says, the ASCAP of the future. And going back to the old world and trying to haggle over, can we build a new platform that's going to compete with Spotify? It's a done deal, right? It's like, if you want an 8-second version of my song, AI will give you that. If you want a 7.3-second version of the song, AI will do that like that. If you want a combination of Whitney Houston and Dolly Parton and 50 Cent, no problem, right? This is the world we're getting into. It's about putting the power of hyper-personalization is rife. It's where all the value is exploding. And we can get on and just go and create unique stuff and not worry about whether the song will sell. We're now building into our algorithm of our likeness and building uniqueness into our identity.
And Finn, tying into that, one of the compelling things that we've heard.
Sorry if I'm raving, guys. It's just
no. This is great.
No, this is golden.
One of our industry execs, users, friend of ours, he called it the future of Music Row. And as Mark and I are thinking about this is how AI will drive a revenue revival in music and IP. For so many years, artists were last to eat. And now for the first time, technology like Monarrch and the laws, Elvis Act, and some of the other 32.
No Fakes Act.
No Fakes Act. I mean, for the first time, there's an innovation happening at the correct time. There's an inflection point here that is really interesting. And we're hearing that from, we'll be able to announce here in a couple of weeks, a couple case studies with some of the largest artists in the world, some of the largest publishing companies in the world. So it's an exciting time for the stuff we can't talk about yet.
Well, yeah, for the people on the listening to this, just cast your mind back. Big companies start somewhere. NVIDIA started somewhere. Apple started somewhere. It was in a garage, right? I'm a firm believer that, people talk about doing good and all that. All of us on the call, we're all in the music business. We've all spent our life in there. We're passionate about it. I really think we've got something big here. I think this really needs to actually, beside the technology, there's obviously there's a market evolution going on, and what we need to do is give hope to people that have lost hope.
Right.
And say, look, we're not some scammers coming in saying, we got the next platform, we're all going to fly around in jets. The point here is this technology is transforming every other industry. Get behind it with us to get behind this industry. That's my message.
Yeah, it's revolutionary for sure. So kind of keying off of some of the legislation, how do you feel like Monarrch can enhance what governments are doing with like legislation and those kinds of things? Because, I think we've discussed this before. So many times the government is so far behind, they're trying to catch the tiger by the tail, and it's already out in the field somewhere and they're chasing after it. I feel like while the tiger is out of the cage, I feel like we've at least caught it from a legislation standpoint. So from a compliancy standpoint and working with governments, how do you feel like Monarrch kind of helps with that stuff, Finn?
Okay, so I want everyone to think about do you guys use tap and go on your credit cards in America?
Oh yeah.
Right. How regulated is the banking industry?
Very.
Right.
Very.
Okay. Is your credit card secured on a transaction like that? Yeah, I think people would say, it's pretty secure. Okay. So you've got legislation coming in on finance industry on transactions, and they've made it work, right? And they have an architecture to make that work. So when legislation comes in around how do we enforce, instead of security on financial transactions, how do we secure the no unauthorized use of an artist's intellectual property? And you have someone that has got a methodology whereby they're using AI. Look, I personally think that when you've got an old methodology, old world of here's a file and we're going to send it all over the world and we're going to stream it, the only thing you can report on is how many streams you've done after the fact.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Monarch can control it on every single stream at the point of stream. We're the toll booth. So if the law changes, let's just say we now need you to do this, we can apply that very second that it comes into law.
It's a flip of a switch.
It's just adding something to the rules engine, right? Well, when I say in a second, it's as simple as adding in a rule, and every transaction beyond that, when that rule's instantiated, now is compliant. So to have a dynamic compliance methodology, rather than, this law's coming out, it's going to take us 3 years to go and upgrade the systems, blah, blah, blah. It's real time. Yeah. So we have real time governance, which I don't know. The only thing that I know that is really secure and has real time governance is payments. Yeah. Right. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And I would tying into that, Mark, how governments and states kind of benefit from Monarch. I mean, there's like
benefit, right?
I mean, we follow it pretty closely, and right now I think there's 38 different cases, state, federal, local class action against unauthorized AI uses. So there's this thing called the digital replication right that's going through Congress, where each individual will have the right to authorize the use of their name and likeness in digital replica. So this is mom and pops, this is sisters, this is,
this is anybody.
This is friends and family, right? They're not artists, they're not rock stars, but there's a very interesting shift that's happening here. And I think as I've been talking to some of the senators that we know here in Tennessee who are very active in this space. Monarch, all those 38 lawsuits that are happening, that's our problem definition, right? They've identified the problem. And what Monarch is doing is creating the solution that fixes and implements those lawsuits happening. So whether you're a state or a national government, Monarch really allows your laws to become real in the real world and implemented on a daily level. So it's pretty exciting.
It is. So same for AI companies. I mean, I think it's obvious how AI companies are going to use Monarch. Simply they just don't want the hassle. And I'm putting words in your mouth, so correct me where I'm wrong, Finn. They don't want the hassle of not being compliant and getting sued into the ground and having to, if they've raised $180 million, they have a fiduciary responsibility to their investors to make sure that $180 million turns into whatever. So,
so it's like I was just putting it in muso speak before, but realistically, it's responsible AI.
Right.
What they want to use a responsible AI framework whereby they can provide the service to the end user, and whereby anyone who's involved in the value chain is responsibly, catered for. There's a responsible usage of their data, and that responsible usage of the data, where required, will be part of that responsible usage. Where required, might be a royalty payment.
Right. So shifting back into more of the music speak, because that's where we all kind of live right now. So for some of the older artists, that aren't necessarily releasing a ton of new music into the system, and while their stuff may be on Spotify, so the Elvises of the world, the I don't know, name somebody, Loretta Lynn, the Dolly Partons, even though she's still pretty active. How do you feel like those artists are going to benefit from this?
Yeah, system? Great question. So I would say for anyone listening, that to answer that question is, think about your music, the thing that you created your livelihood potentially off in the past, that in this future, what you're trading is your influence. You're trading your likeness. You're
Right.
not trading your song. Your song forms your likeness. Okay. So anytime someone wants to remember a song, and now it's not just anytime anyone wants to remember. I want people to recognize this, that there's a huge business to business model. And what I mean is, like, Westfield shopping centers might say, for the next 3 months for Christmas, I want 24/7 playlists of songs from all these artists, but I want them all turned into Christmas music. So AI can do that, right? But it's where your likeness, your influence, where someone wants you connected with an experience, that's what the royalty's on. It's not on your music. And so that's the big shift. What I'm really saying to them is, we have uncovered a treasure chest, potentially, for you, brand new pot of gold, that you've spent your years building, that's been left dormant. What you've done is you've extracted as much from your music as possible, but now, as the world has changed, people are looking for an experience. But where you and your likeness is part of that experience, it's a brand new revenue stream for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I feel like that assists in, once that's all defined, can get passed down through your family and these things as well, that, for whatever time period it is before it becomes public domain. But it is more than just you as an artist. Like, who knows what, your family and everything else they can do whenever that right is attached to you. Because at the moment, the two ends aren't meeting. But when they are, it actually goes further than just putting the lights on for the family today. That's what people don't understand. And even in the music industry, if they haven't been out there and had some sort of success, then they think it's impossible to make any money whatsoever today. So why would I be worried about mailbox money coming later? And they just they can't see it, because we haven't really been seeing the fact that you're the creator.
It's sending your great, 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 great grandchildren to college if they want to go.
Right. If you think about an artist like Buddy Holly, he recorded for
great example.
2 to 3 years, right? And his wife is the head of their estate. We've worked with them. They make money on publishing and masters, right?
That's it.
And now for an artist like Buddy Holly, who's obviously great songs, right? Died too soon, but his style and likeness is much more than just his music. If you're Kiss, if you're Garth or Dolly or Van Halen, you have 40 years of valuable, rare archives that through Monarch all of a sudden inform your style and become technically a new income stream for you.
Yeah, and that is the new income stream. That's the most exciting part.
Yeah.
This is not just about turning cassettes into CDs and CDs into MP3s or WAV files or whatever. It's not regenerating the same thing into a different medium. This is creating a brand new revenue stream that nobody has ever even conceived of before, and would have been a great big hassle to create a derivative work of Enter Sandman as a reggae tune, or whatever,
Yeah.
How funny is it that, like, it's not far-fetched to tell people you can have AI do this and put this person's face on here and make them do anything you want, and you won't even believe what it is. But we're having to convince them that, like, the artist that is being used, like, should, we're having to convince them that is a real thing that's doable, not like this thing of AI that is, like you said, a tiger running very far, very fast, loose in the field. So I find it comical that really we're having to explain to people, and that just shows how either far artists' heads have been in the dirt, or maybe the contract and wording from the beginning, from my experience, has always been in there and not been in our favor. So I just find this super unique opportunity where the artist is the value for, like, a label and things at the moment. But if it's getting replications made of it, digital replications made, and you can't trace it and all this, it's like, it's too much and no one gets anything. But the reality,
So just on your point, Jeremy, I just want everyone just to, we are at the beginning of a fundamental change in the world. We're only at the beginning. We're not at the end. This is starting. Okay. What you're seeing, all these transformations that's going on in the world, you know, what is it, 40-story building just landed, a Tesla, a booster rocket the other day, landed back on Earth, right? 40-story building, right? We are at a dawn of a new horizon. And those that take this new horizon and come on board with a new horizon can find a pathway to success in the future. All of this complexity, and you can't do this and you can't do that. You can argue about that until all day goes long, but this isn't stopping. Right. So what my message to everyone is that we're at the dawn of a new horizon. This is just the beginning, right? The future, if we look through the right lens with people who know what they're talking about, it can be a very valuable future. So all of that stuff that you've been told, I say we've got a human operating system. Everyone's running a human operating system. Your conscious mind is your user interface that you interact with the world, and your subconscious, which is all your heartbeat and all that sort of stuff, is also controlled by your autonomous behaviors, which are the things that we've programmed through our life, the pains, the this. When we drive our car, we don't put our foot on the brake and think about it. We just do it. It's an autonomous behavior. Some of those autonomous behaviors, if we can't observe them, they stop us growing. Right. Don't let that happen. Right, AI can be an amazing future for us all. You know, as Monarch, we're trying to really empower the new form of art and build a pathway and a career for all those involved. It's pretty much an exciting journey, and I just would my thing to take away from this call really is, guys, there's a number of good people out there. We're really trying to do something big and something different and something bold. We think we've got something really amazing. It does take a shift in mindset. But remember, at the early part of the call, because you might go, oh, it's all too complicated. It's often push the boundaries. It's not as scary as you think, right? That's right. So that's pretty much, I'm excited about the you
Yeah, you said you were. Oh, sorry about that, brother. I was just going to say in the beginning, just kind of bookending what you had said. You were like, "Yeah, I play guitar and all this, and I'm just a guitar player." But had you not just had the curiosity to go, chase all these different directions and lean outside of music into tech, and then kind of bring them two together, and all of these things wouldn't happen if you didn't realize like those things all were different tools that made you realize what is unique about you and what you then have to bring to the table. And that's what I think is really exciting, is that when people have, that maybe not be able to put two and two together the way that you have and a lot of us have here and are still trying to do. But if they can be assisted along this path and at the same time as fast as possible before they even have fans even realize what's special about them, man, I have the highest hopes for the music industry because of that. Absolutely.
Look, I do. I've got a few private mentoring kids that I help that are in the music business, and the thing I tell them is, be a video game. You are the character. You are the protagonist. You're the character. You're the mage, the warrior, the bat, whatever. Your goal is to get from level 1 to level 2. You've got a map. You study the maps. You figure out where the treasure is. You go and buff your armor. That is the world of I see it as the world of the musician. It's that there's all these unknowns coming at me. I've got to fight this. I've got to do that, and I can strategize. Be that guy. Be the video game. Don't be the guy who's like, I'm staying at level 1. This is all too scary for me.
That's right. And it's not a big leap to get into other industries as well. So video, it's coming, right? Video's coming.
Yeah.
I mean, it's here, but it's not quite there yet.
In the last week, it's like there's so much happening. It's just crazy what's going on. But
Actually,
this is great, man.
I was just gonna say, maybe just to tie it up, because I'm just interested. I guess 20 years past to now and 20 years present, it's like reel to reel learning that I learned in school, and I was on the last end of that, but learning the splicing reel to reel to now light speed prompts and it's but 20 years from now, is it just so set up that it's simple and you're allowed to just do whatever and you're assisted? Or How do you see it in your head when it goes so
Well,
like
so yeah, so
not manual?
just to sort of what I advise more executives is that are really wanting to get into this is I say do not type anything when you're using AI. If you're getting good, if you're just learning AI, or even if you're using ChatGPT, try and force yourself to stop typing. Right? You just want to use your voice. And people go, "Oh, that's crazy. That's ridiculous." Blah blah blah. And so the multimodality of these models now. Sorry, that won't be technical. By using your voice, the future of prompt engineering is talking. AI is the world's first technology that uses natural language as its programming language. What we say is a programming language,
which is the way kids interface with computers. They're always voice.
Yeah, so it's this is the future, but this is why tech layoffs are happening crazy, right? AI can write the code. You don't need to write the code.
Correct.
You go to Vercel, you go to some of these new engines, you just talk and it will build you software. So the future is learning. When you talk to a machine, you work differently than when you type with a machine. Right. And it's a really interesting way to start to build the conversational AI. That's the future. The future is that actually sentiment analysis, knowing ambiently what we're thinking and being able to make predictions for us. But for the moment, conversational AI, I know we're all talking very technical stuff, but the point that I'm trying to make is AI is not technical.
Right.
It's a great point.
It's trying to be like you as much as possible. Like you're saying, it's using the same kind of language and trying to assist. And
it's just that we've been taught that all these technologies are technical. When you look up AI, they talk about inference costs and they talk about all of these technical words that you don't understand. GPU allocation and contextualization and tokenization. All that, you don't need to know any of that. Do you know everything about the electrical system in your car? No. You just get in and drive it, right? You don't need to know all that stuff. It's AI will work with you. Don't worry about all that technical stuff. It's that's for the guy, the boffins who want to make it. You want to use it.
I think that's really good advice because I myself, and maybe it all comes from that same fear that of it and of the unknown. But you know, I've always am afraid to talk to it. So I feel like that's a good mind barrier on it to where it's not like, oh, this thing is watching me. It's like, hey, this is a train of this thing is trying to learn what I want and how to assist me and make my life as smooth as possible and assist with all these things. And so I feel like that's a really good, not just technical piece, something that I definitely am going to think different. Rather than blocking the microphone, maybe figure out how that communication works so that what are now prompts actually just become this conversational piece that the system knows what I want.
Yeah, look, the last thing just to tie it up that I just want to say is that used right in the right way. I ask a lot of people, a lot of younger people, so what do you want to do? I don't know. What type of song do you want to write? I don't know. What are your passions? I don't know. AI can help you. It can help you figure out. It can reference all the things that you're doing and go, you know what? I can see a pattern here. Have you ever tried this? Go and try that.
Right.
It can help filter down the experimentation so you can figure out how to be more human and how to be more you. It can help you discover more about you. So don't be in fear of it listening to you and, someone's going to, like, who cares on 10 trillion pieces of information going into a microphone every day that someone's listening to you and taking your information? And it's the wrong mindset, right? AI can help be your coach, your guidance, your personal educator, there's so many great things. So just try and build an adaptive mindset. Yeah. Anytime you've got fear, question where the fear came from.
Love it.
Dude,
this
has
been
awesome.
Great, man.
This is great, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you taking time to go through all this. Exciting times. We'll continue to talk. And don't forget that if you're interested in being a part of Monarch, you can sign up. Go to monarch.com and you can listen to these lunch and learns as well as sign up. And we'll get with you on whether you want to invest, become an artist, whatever you're going to do. Head over to monarch.com and we'll set you up for sure.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
guys.
Beautiful.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much.
Have a great day.
Welcome to Hacking Music. I'm your host, John Pisciotta. The goal of this podcast is to break off a piece of the hacking music training we use and train artists in every day, to master the best of what other headliner artists have already figured out, so that you can unlock your potential. Additionally, we interview world-class artists and entrepreneurs, doers and thinkers, so that you can better analyze your problems, seize your opportunities, and master your decision-making and execution. Every episode is packed with training, lessons, and force multipliers that never expire. And if you're listening to this, you're missing out. If you'd like members-only training and exclusive content, you can join at hacking-music.com. Check out the show notes for a link. This episode is brought to you by the Sync Center, trusted by Fortune 50 companies, filmmakers, ad executives, and major film studios. The Sync Center is a full-service music supervision and licensing company that has managed projects for hundreds of clients, including national and global brands, agencies, and cultural events.